how was it up here? Was it felt good? So I have my coat. But what an honor to be here, commissioners. Good to see y'all. And I want to introduce to you the Smith Douglas folks and my background, housing, DCA commissioner. We just talked a little bit about GIC, and you know, we have some tremendous opportunities throughout the state. We got a governor that's really supporting attainable workforce housing. And these are folks earning a paycheck, looking a lot of times for first-time homeownership. Now, I want to introduce the founder of Smith Douglas, Tom Bradbury. Tom, Tom, you've been in the housing business just a little bit, haven't you? I mean, just a day or two?
Tell my age, I've been in the business 50 years.
Tom is on the Board of Regents and is really committed to providing housing for our policemen, our firemen, our hardworking factory workers, and he's got two of his best team folks. Would you say that, Tom?
Absolutely.
And Scott and Eddie Clyde. I'm gonna ask Eddie to come up, and hopefully y'all have a handout, and we want to just discuss the possibilities and what we can do. Let me just ask you this for a hush, okay? How many of y'all remember walking in to that home for the first time, your first house? How many of y'all remember that? Was that a special feeling? And I believe there's just a ton of pent-up demand for that. I remember being a young football coach, walking into a house for the first time. And now that I got grandchildren that are kind of the age I was then, they're saying, Pawpaw, we need to get off the Ponderosa and go get our own place. I said, you sure do, and we got to find you a house. So I'd like for Eddie to come up and share, and we'll be open, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, to your pleasure, okay, as far as questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed.
All right, well, thanks for putting us on the agenda and giving us a few moments to talk about something that we're really passionate about, which is solving the attainable workforce housing challenge, I will call it. Usually, we're not necessarily talking in a public forum, but we're fine with that. But I'll try and abbreviate this. Typically, we would like to speak about your specific housing needs here in LJ and Gilmer County, but we will just assume that your needs echo the needs that we've heard all throughout Georgia, which I'm going to embellish for a second. Something along the lines of our teachers are living in hotels and our firefighters live 3 counties away. Maybe different here. So if you flip over to page 3, just a little bit about Smith Douglas Homes. And I do need to update this presentation because I show us as the 36th largest residential home builder in the U.S. Well, the new Builder 100 list came out yesterday, I believe, and we are now the 32nd largest residential home builder in the U.S. We're headquartered out of Woodstock, Georgia, so we're from Georgia, although we build in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Alabama, all throughout the Southeast. Georgia is our bread and butter. I'd like to point out that, because we believe this, our mission is to provide the opportunity for home ownership by efficiently building affordable homes of enduring value. A couple of highlights, just to give you an idea of who Smith Douglas is. Last year we closed 2,867 homes. ASP, average sales price, $340,000, which doesn't sound super affordable, but if you look at the Builder 100 list and you rank it by average sales price, out of 100, we're number 10. So this is just where we're at these days. Homes cost a lot of money. Our average home size is about 2,081 square feet on average. I think we'll skip over. I know Mr. Bradbury likes to talk a little bit about our values as an organization, which we take seriously. I don't know if you'd like to skip that or talk to it, Tom, today, but.
Well, I think they deserve to know.
Okay, very good, very good. So,
page 3 is our house, and this is our culture. It's who we are. It's what we believe in, and you know our values. We agree to hold ourselves and the team accountable at all times to these values: integrity. And I can remember when I was 6 years old, my daddy looked me in the eye and he said, son, if you tell somebody you're gonna do something, you do it. And as you go through life, you'll find out sometimes you can't do what you said you were gonna do. And that's fine. But say, ma'am or sir, for the following reason, I can't do this. And I can tell you, Eddie and Scott will do that. You know, things sometimes change, but we're gonna do our best to do exactly what we said we were gonna do. People associate growth through individual initiative. At Smith Douglas, we want to foster an environment where everybody can reach their full professional potential. We have pictorial roadmaps of where an assistant construction manager can see the steps and the timeline that they have to take to become a division president like Scott and Eddie. Teamwork. It's not who's right, but what's right for every family involved. And it's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. Excellence, pride in superior performance. We deal with a lot of trade contractors, and I tell them every time, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, when do you? So we have good luck with our trades, and Scott and Eddie will probably get into that a little bit. Continuous improvement. We follow good, better, best. You never let it rest till the good is better and the better is best. Our purpose is to enhance people's quality of life. And I tell folks all the time, every decision that you make either positively impacts somebody's quality of life or negatively impacts somebody's quality of life. So be careful about the decisions that you make. Our vision, we want to become the dominant builder in each of our markets through innovative, efficient, best-in-class operational excellence. And our mission is to provide the opportunity of home ownership by efficiently building affordable homes of enduring value. So, Eddie, thank you for letting me share that.
Yes, sir. A little bit about what makes us a little bit different than your normal production home builder. At all price points, including the ones we're going to talk about here in just a minute, we offer the ability to choose hundreds and hundreds of options. We let people customize their homes, and it really shows in the streetscapes of our communities, where sometimes, even though most builders have a monotony rule, you can kind of tell it looks a little cookie cutter. We're a very efficient home builder. I would, all big builders are efficient, but I would probably say that we're a little bit more efficient just because we're so maniacal about driving out waste. So when we understand that there is a affordable housing crisis in the state of Georgia, we feel like we should be part of the solution. And so what we're talking about here today is leveraging the Rural Workforce Housing Grant from One Georgia to help provide attainable workforce housing in areas that need it and are open to working with us to solve the problem. If you flip to the next page, page 5, this is just a quick table on how much a typical person can afford to buy. You're typically your firefighters, your teachers, your factory workers, your young families. If you look on the left, you have household income. If you look at the brackets that fall within the outline box, the $40,000 and $50,000 household income bracket, and we focus on these for a number of reasons. But you see new jobs coming to the state. Governor Kemp's done a great job bringing new jobs to the state, and you'll read about it in the newspaper, and it'll say, oh, they're good paying jobs. The average compensation is $48,000 a year. Okay. Where are these folks going to live, making $48,000 a year? So if you take a typical FHA mortgage, 3.5% down, 6.5% interest rate, how much can these folks afford to buy? Well, at $50,000, it's around $200,000, $40,000 in between, under $200,000. If you flip to the next page, and this is something I always find interesting, these folks can afford to buy up to $200,000. John Burns is probably the most reputable consultant in the real estate industry, at least the residential side. This tweet came out from his research 2 years ago. New homes priced below $200,000 are now 0% of the market. And so the folks that can only afford to buy up to $200,000 they're out of luck. So, how do we solve this problem? If we flip to the next page, page 7, three things that we came up with, how you get home prices down. Well, one is smaller home size. That's pretty intuitive. But I would like to point out, if you look at this graph here, in 1950, the average size of a new home in the U.S. was 983 square feet. And as far as I know, nobody died because their house was too small. People raised their families in these houses. I remember I used to go spend Thanksgiving at my Aunt Mayrell's house off exit 13 on 400. And they had a little 4-room house just like this. They raised my 3 cousins in, and we got the whole family together there. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like to have a big house too, but 983 square feet, people can live in these houses. 1970 went up to 1,500 square feet. 2014, which I think was the peak, 2,675 square feet, which is absurd for the average. And then last year, it's come down a bit as affordability becomes more and more of a top-of-mind issue. To 2,373 square feet. So smaller houses is one way to get the price of a house down. Now, I know you've had your issues here with the tiny house thing. I own land in Gilmer County, and I remember when the tiny house neighborhood was going up and all that stuff. We're not advocating tiny homes. These are smaller homes. These are not tiny houses like the ones that used to have at the Home Depot parking lot over there. Yeah, if you flip to the next page, page 8, favorable zoning. Zoning conditions drive home cost more than you might think. And so just to put it in perspective, there's a lot of factors that go into it that drive this, but I'm just basing this on one particular community in Macon, Georgia, actually, because it just seemed like a good baseline. For every 1,000 square feet of minimum lot size, it's adding about $12,000 to the price of a house. For every 100 square feet of minimum heated square footage, it's adding about $8,000 to the price of the house. Those are big drivers. But then when we look at front yard setbacks, every 10 feet, it's about $900. Every 1 inch of roof pitch, which people don't typically think of, I didn't, until it was brought to my attention, is about $750 added to the price of the house. Architectural requirements are a big one. I don't think there's anything egregious going on in LJ or Gilmer County, but in some places, brick is expensive. We always have to remind people. And it all factors into the cost of a house. Whether or not you have a garage, and I like to point out, although some folks, and I get it, garages look nice, but I'm just curious, if I might ask, how many of y'all park your car in your garage? Yeah, I don't either, and I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why is, as builders today, the garage doors are too small, and it's not worth it to try and get your car in the garage with that much on either side, and then have to back it out in the morning. I might as well just leave it in the driveway. So a lot of people use their garage for storage, or a gym, or for the kids' playroom, or whatever it may be. So in many cases, we would say, why force somebody to pay for a garage if they're not going to use it? Because a garage is going to cost another $10,000 added to the price of the house. So zoning is important. Now, big thing here, if you look to the next page, page 9, is anybody here familiar with the Rural Workforce Housing Initiative from One Georgia? Okay, yes, okay. It's a fantastic program if it's done correctly, and I know of another person out there that is doing it correctly, and we're looking to optimize it so that it really works. But just a quick summary, you can read the bullet points here because it just comes right off the slide. But state funding to be made available to assist local communities with housing development to address workforce housing shortages. These are grants of up to $2.5 million, so it's not a loan, it's a grant, you don't pay it back. It's an infrastructure grant. It's supposed to help offset the cost of infrastructure to produce affordable housing. And I'll get to how that helps us lower the cost here in just a second. Cities and counties, or whoever the entity is that is applying for the loan, they're expected to have some skin in the game, and, you know, it's, from what we've seen from prior applications, could be anywhere from $100,000 to $250,000 or something of comparable value, donate the land. We've been asking folks to just waive the building permits, just because we know most cities and counties just don't have unlimited funds to stroke a check these days. It's intended for single-family housing with a price of no more than $290,000, which I would still say is probably not affordable, at least to the folks that we're trying to hit. So we're trying to come in much lower than that, under $200,000, and I'll come to that. It's intended to be owner-occupied, no rentals. That can be accomplished through a number of mechanisms, which we're always happy to talk about if we want to get into it. And we have 30 months to complete all the units associated with grant funding. So if we say we submit a grant, there's a grant that comes from the city or the county, and we assist in preparing it, but the grant will say we're gonna build 100 units. And so with the grant money, the $2.5 million, and what we essentially do is we say, oh, $2.5 million divided by 100 is $25,000 is essentially a subsidy on the home price, gets passed along as savings to the buyer. We have 30 months to complete it from the time the grant is awarded. So that means we gotta clear and develop the land, which can be 6 to 9 months, could be more, but we're getting better at it. And then we have the remainder of the time, you know, 21 months, 18, 21 months to build and sell all of these homes that we said we were gonna do, which is not an issue for us. We're a production builder, and we can build more than 100 homes in a year in one community. We can do 200, I just don't know if we can sell them all, and we don't wanna put a bunch of spec inventory on the ground, So if you flip the page, here's an example of a project. Which one is this? This is in Thomaston. We're filing for this grant application on June 11th. And so this is going to be still to be determined. I think it's going to be 82 single-family units. These are 42-foot lots, which I believe the ordinance in the city of LJ, at least, is for R2 is 90-foot lots. So we'll come to the back to the zoning here in a second. These are smaller homes, anywhere from 917 square feet to 1,300 square feet, 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, 0 to 2-car garages, depending on what people want. However, this 2-bedroom, 1-bath, in Thomaston, we're actually not doing the 2-bedroom, 1-bath. They insist on having at least 1.5 bathrooms, and I agree with them. So our smallest unit would be 950 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. But for the sake of argument, we could, based on our assumptions and operation on zoning, we can offer a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 917 square foot with no garage, starting from $139,900. That is revolutionary to people in those income brackets that we were talking about earlier, $40,000, $50,000. This is base price, and so most folks come in and they want to upgrade things, and you know that's how it is. If you flip to the next page, this is an example of some of the house plans. We're coming out with a new line of house plans at Smith Douglas just for this purpose. They're smaller. They're built using the exact same materials and the same methodologies that we build our bigger houses. There is no difference, same quality, just smaller. This is the 917 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, no garage. You can see base price of $139,900. If you flip to the next page, we'll start stepping up in size. 1,070 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1-car garage from $159,900. And you can see the different elevations. If you look, I mean, if they want to spend extra dollars to have brick water table or accents on the house, everything's customizable. Next page, get a little bit bigger, 1,118 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-car garage from $164,900, based on our assumptions. And then the very next page, these are homes that we actually build today. In fact, this one at the top here, the Ryman, we're building that in Hampton, Georgia, right now. It's 1,164 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, from $174,900. It's a great house. It lives good. Some folks don't like the fact that it's garage dominant, but if you're going to have a 2-car garage on an 1,164 square foot house, a 28-foot product, it's going to be garage dominant. Rentals, single car garage, nice looking house, 1,300 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1 car garage from 179.9. So this is the vision here. The vision is to work with cities and counties that would like to work with us to build homes in this price range. Smaller homes that can meet the needs of the folks that currently have no options except for rent. Or, there's other options, but they're not as good. If you flip to the last page here, these are the things that we're looking for from a cooperation standpoint. If there's an interest at the city or county level, our housing standards versus, I just put in here city of LJ R2 requirements. And so, right now the minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet. We probably, the reality is, need about 4,200 square feet if we want to do 42-foot wide lots. Minimum lot width right now is 90 feet in the R2 requirement. We would not do 40, 42 is the minimum we can do. We're certainly happy to talk about 45 or 46, but certainly nothing more than 50, because that defeats the purpose of trying to hit these price points, because it gets more expensive to build and sell these homes. Front setbacks, right now the minimum in R2 City of LJ is 30 feet. We're looking for a minimum of 15, although we would never probably do 15. We'd probably have a minimum of 20, but we just need that extra margin of error in case there's a lot that can only get 19. Side setbacks, this is the contentious one in most jurisdictions. So your side setbacks right now in R2 are 15 feet. We're looking for 5 feet, and we're happy to talk about, and most of the time it's going to be 7 feet, because we have 28-foot product. We like to have a margin of error of 2 feet on either side, so that makes it 32. And if we have a 42-foot lot, that leaves an additional 5, so that winds up with 7 feet setbacks, 14 feet between houses. And we get into a lot of arguments about, I don't want to say arguments, just discussions, because we're just looking to see if there's a win-win situation. Can we do 7.5-foot setbacks? Well, we can, but it really doesn't make that much of a difference visually. It's still really close together. I mean, and these homes are close together. It is dense. That's how we get the price down. Now, we do take we do. If you go back to page 10. And you look at this layout in Thomason, because we're very conscious that these are close together. We try to create open spaces, because what we find is the constraining factor of getting home price down in a lot of rural areas is not the cost of the land. And we are constrained to the number of units because of the 30-month time limit on the grant. So we just assume use some of this land to create open spaces. And so in the middle here, this is about a 2-acre open area right here, and this is not our final site plan actually. We'll move a couple homes on the end and open this up a little bit more so you can see it as you drive in. But we're very conscious of the fact that with density, we want open spaces so that you can walk your dog, kids can play, you have some place to go. It doesn't feel like it's claustrophobic and packed in, and it doesn't. And I'll tell you this, we've become good at building dense neighborhoods. We've made mistakes in the past, having 2-story homes that are, right up on the road, and so as you drive down the road, it's narrow right away, it feels like you're in a tunnel. So these are all ranch homes with plenty of open space, and we've built stuff like this in the past. Tom has built a neighborhood. In fact, I just got a video that we had professionally done of this neighborhood. It's in Woodstock. It's called Cobblestone. It's built in 1994, is it? 1994. Exact same types of homes. Some of them don't have a garage. Some of them are 2 bedrooms, 900 square feet, 1,000 square feet. And these homes today, these were built in 1994, look as good today as they did back in 1994. Now, part of that is Woodstock has grown up, and these homes are actually selling for $300,000 now. But these homes they last, and the neighborhoods look good. It's not. I would encourage anybody that is interested to get me to send you the video so you can see what the neighborhood looks like. like. I would live in this neighborhood, so. So what we're looking for is, and granted, this has turned into kind of a one-way presentation here, but we're really just trying to find out if, what areas, what jurisdictions are interested in having a discussion and working with us to try and figure out, can we meet part of the way in order to make something like this happen? And I'll give you an example of kind of how it went with Thomaston. You know, they wanted architectural shingles on the roof, because it's gonna be downtown, and they have big plans for their downtown area. Well, that's $1,000 a house, and that's fine, just, you know, adds to the price. And they also want exactly one-car garage, because they think it looks better. Well, okay, that's fine too. And so we're willing to work, you know, on these requirements. At a certain point, though, it becomes not economically viable, and that's when we're like, I don't think it's gonna work unless we can, you know, reopen these discussions. And so we're just trying to feel out where we might have a partner and where we won't, and we're not trying to convince anybody they should want anything they don't want, and every community's different. And so that's kind of our pitch, and you know, any questions about what we're trying to do or any interest?
I appreciate you guys being here, all of you, and what you do, because it's so important, in my opinion. I have been working on housing for 5 or 6 years, and we definitely have a need for this price range of housing and ownership. I'm honored to serve as the president of our Habitat for Humanity affiliate, and we build homes for about $140,000 in there. It's 1,200 square feet on a slab, and that's with a lot of the community giving to us to make that happen for families. And I think you definitely offer something that I think our community needs. This is the very beginning stage of, I hadn't really personally thought of this concept for us, because I didn't even know you existed. Sorry, my fault on that. I'd heard several different groups, but anyway, we have been working on, we are a GIC community with the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing. We've graduated, so now we're graduates of that, but we still receive that benefit for that for a couple of years. So, and that's where I became familiar with the rural workforce initiative that the governor was doing, and I think it's so important. My question to you on how HOA and roads, and tell me a little bit about that, the details of that, how that pans out for the communities that you build.
All of our communities have an HOA. We use a kind of standard HOA because we have to preserve the value of people's homes and so forth. But we're also happy to look at customizing the HOA to some degree. You have to remember that the HOA, anything we put in there, they could vote it out at some point. But all of our communities do have an HOA. And you were asking about the roads now?
Correct.
What's the question about the roads?
Who pays for that infrastructure?
Oh, okay, so look, so the way this works is we do essentially,
Okay.
us with the grant. And so we would if we were gonna build this community in LJ, we would come in and we would pay for all the development, put in the roads initially, and all the infrastructure, and that's part of our cost, and that gets passed on to the home buyer. That's why homes are so expensive. And so this program allows us to offset our infrastructure costs that we would normally spend by up to $2.5 million, and that is passed along to the home buyer 100%. And that's kind of the gist of how we're trying to tackle this problem. But now the streets are still, we would anticipate, deeding those to the city, and then they would.
Or the county.
Yeah, or the county, yes. And they would be y'all's responsibility at that point, yes.
Is there a minimum or maximum income requirement to purchase these homes?
No, there's not. Now, from our standpoint, we will only sell one house to a single entity, so somebody can't come in and just buy them all up. We also, will, through a number of mechanisms, will prevent people from renting these homes too. That's not the intent of the program. But if somebody that has, a lot of means, wants to come in and buy one and live in it, they can. Or, you know, there's no way to really target a specific, income, class.
Or you're not required to do that through the grant, the rural workforce?
No,
grant?
no, the grant is just to help put the infrastructure in, to put houses on the ground, in this price range. The limit's $290. We're taking it upon ourselves to try and solve the problem and get it down under 200, because that's where the real problem is. Yeah, I can't remember the original question now, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, I think I just funded it on the funding for it, so that's all right.
Okay,
You answered.
yeah.
You have the Georgia Dream Program, which I know y'all are familiar with, which is down payment assistance to help. You know, as I view this, and the way we looked at it when I was DCA commissioner, you're gonna get a lot of first-time homeowners that have never developed any type of assets or wealth, you know. This is their chance to come in and say, hey, and I think it's $15,000 to $20,000. That's 0% interest paid at the end of the loan, and a goodly portion is forgiven. So it really helps anyone, but particularly I think helps that first-time homeowner build that equity and you know, be able to get in there right. And I think the other thing is you've got closing costs, right, Eddie? That there's
Yeah, we contribute to closing costs, and the intent here is to combine this with the Georgia Dream. In a perfect world, and I'm not 100% sure how realistic this is, in a perfect world, you would essentially walk through the apartment complexes door to door, I'm exaggerating a little bit, doing credit checks, and if you had good credit, we could move you into one of these houses without putting a nickel down. Probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's not too much of an exaggeration, so, yeah.
what would be the average rental cost in the LJ area for an apartment? I'm sorry. I think so. I know in Jackson County where I live, the average rental cost for a family is sometimes $1,800 to $2,000 a month, which if you're able to put a product together where these couples or singles can own the home, that's a dramatic change. You're taking that money and they're building equity, they're building wealth, and it's for folks, you know, that are earning that paycheck and want to get started. But would the average rent here be $1,500 or so?
For sure, 1,500 to 2,000. It's really, it's so extreme.
So you're really able to move folks out of that rental mindset into a homeownership concept, and it changes their lives. This is a life-changing opportunity, and it's best dealt with at the local level. It's great to have a state leader who says, look, we're gonna put some dollars in this. And the other thing is, you know, as y'all know, you've got to work with first-time homeowners, get them coached up, right?
That's right.
Because it's different in renting and owning, and that's something we also help with. These folks are community builders. Smith Douglas is a community builder. They look at the long haul. They're not gonna come in and, you know, build a project and, you know, ride off to California somewhere. They're here. And, you know, when Tom talks about that night, was it 1996, Tom, that first, you know, to be able to ride through there and see that work done back then. And Tom tells this story. Can I tell this story about when they were closing and in one of those houses, and it was a policeman, I believe, and they just couldn't believe it, that they could get in that home, that they would own it, it would be theirs. And so that's what this is all about. Appreciate y'all's time.
The reason I was concerned about that and asked that particular question is, in discussing affordable housing with various people, you know, I've come to make a distinction between affordable housing and low-income housing. The problem that I have with low-income housing is that some of these maximum income ranges are such that a teacher, a firefighter, deputy would be priced out. They make a little bit too much money for some of these low-income things, so, you know, if somebody of means wants to come in and buy a house and live in it, I'm fine with that, I don't think that'll gonna happen a lot. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't gonna have people that might be making $1,000 a year too much to be able to qualify for these homes, so I'm glad to hear that there's no minimum or maximum involved here.
That's a great question, Charlie.
That is a great question, actually. It's, no minimum, no maximum, but, just to point out, I mean, you still have to have good credit, so.
Can sorry to interrupt you, is this strictly workforce, or can widows or seniors purchase?
Anybody can purchase it.
Okay.
It's just the
Okay.
term workforce housing, it's kind of how the problem has been defined. I think a lot of the genesis of this is, in particular, is when the plants down.
Sure, yes.
15,000 new jobs and nowhere for people to live, so
Right.
it's, but anybody, yeah, no, it's open for anybody. You know, I think in Thomaston, their hopes are that they can attract young families.
Well, I drove by that Hyundai plant a couple of weeks ago, and I think most of those 15,000 could probably live right in there.
Oh my gosh, it's the biggest building I've ever seen. All right, well, thank you for your,
I'm good, I think what would be the next steps for us?
I think to sit down and talk in a little bit greater detail. So typically our process is to ascertain whether or not we have the support to get zoning that works for this, through a PUD or an overlay district or however, whatever the mechanism is. Once we determine that there is support for that, then we will go out and source land and try and, hopefully with your help, because you guys know more about where the land is than us. And we have to find something on sewer too. And so I'm not sure how far out your sewer goes here, but.
It's mostly around
I know.
LJ and East LJ, so.
But can some of that infrastructure money go towards sewer, or does that need to be for your infrastructure of roads?
It's gonna have to be to subsidize the house price, and I'll tell you why. It's because we're building 100 units that all have to be built within 18 months, which means we have to sell 100 units within 18 months, and we're not sure. There may be enough demand at market rate without a subsidy to get that kind of sales pace, but I wouldn't count on that. And so this allows us, A, to sell the home cheaper to the end user, but also then to sell the homes faster so that we can get 100 units sold and built within the 18-month period. A lot of these grants, when you see them come in, it's changing a little bit, but a lot of them are coming in, people are building like 22 homes that they're gonna sell for $275,000, and that doesn't really solve the problem, so, yeah.
It's biting one bite at a time, so that
Yeah. So in a perfect world, we have to be on sewer, find something that can gravity flow to sewer, because lift stations are expensive. You know,
That's gonna be a very limiting factor for us.
well, yeah, no, I know.
And probably your conversations in that would be more with the cities of LJ or East LJ. There are some places in the unincorporated county where we have sewer, but
Few and far
they're
between.
rare.
Yeah.
Have you done one of these projects in an area similar to ours that has a lot of tourism revenue as we do?
No. So our first two projects right now that we're preparing applications for are in Thomaston and in Metter. Now we're also feeling pretty good about Cochrane and Thompson, Georgia, out towards Augusta, Warner Robins, Covington, and Americus, Georgia. We're actually pretty excited about, and they are too. So, but nothing. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, nothing that would be similar to LJ in this area. You also have the topo in this area too. So, yes. Do you have concerns about impact on tourism? I mean, outside of tourism, you get a lot of people that want to come up here and retire too. So.
It has driven up our costs. There's a lot of very large homes that have been built and being built all the time, so it's driven up the cost tremendously. But it doesn't negate that we need housing for the people who build those homes too.
Yep.
But I wish, and I'm pretty sure there's no possible way to do this, I wish that we could figure some way that the folks here could have some priority in building and buying those houses rather than us trying to do something just to bring in a bunch of other people and probably still have the same problem with our folks here.
So there's ways to do that. Thompson kind of had the same concern. We can talk about that, but we can focus the subsidy on, certain groups, city employees or people that are verifiably employed within a 20-mile radius. We'll have to go through, exactly how we can piece that together, and we have to be careful on our side because you start limiting the buyer pool. Remember, we got to sell 100 of them. But there's things that we can do to incentivize that people that are here locally within reason are the ones that are able to take advantage of the opportunity, or at least take advantage of it first.
That's encouraging.
Is there a minimum, community size that you'll build?
There is. We don't know what that is yet. We'll definitely go as low as 70 units on this. The less unit, so we have to balance, we want to maximize the grant amount, and in a perfect world, maximize the subsidy per home. But as the community gets smaller, the infrastructure costs go down, and so you hit a wall there. We wouldn't want to build a 30-unit community. I don't think. You'd have to actually talk to Scott. This is his area. He's the president of our largest division. But we're typically looking for at least 70 units, maybe 60 units minimum. I think. It depends on what kind of land. If the only land available is not enough to accommodate that, we'll try and figure it out. So at the end of the day, what we really want to do is solve the problem.
Right, well, we could spend the rest of the money with getting sewer to the land.
Yep, no, I see what you're saying, yes, that is true. That's something to look at. So I think if there's an interest, we should have a subsequent meeting and just go through in a little bit greater detail, whether or not there's support for this, but then we can start to look around and see what is available and how it might fit the bill.
I think it'd be safe to say that there's support for it here, but I don't want to speak for you.
Absolutely, there is in the need.
And what they're saying with support, that's being willing to change the zoning and possibly create those PUDs.
Well, that's where we would need to have further conversations, because we need to know
That's right.
exactly what changes need to be made and so forth.
Exactly, and it's just through a PUD. I think you have a PUD available.
We don't.
You don't, okay, my
You're
bad.
county now,
Yeah.
you're thinking about city of Ellicott.
Yeah,
We are the unincorporated.
yes, that's right. I was looking in the city of LG zoning. You're
Right.
exactly right, yes.
Yeah.
So it's, the county does not,
Right.
So,
Can I ask the question I would have, and, having worked with cities and counties forever, it'd be so great if we can pull a group together from the city, from the county, and sit down and really hash out, what this community is looking for. And, Mr. Chairman, the way I have always looked at this program is the housing is gonna benefit our city and county employees, our teachers, our policemen, our firemen, folks that are in this area that are just really frustrated because they can't afford, what's the average home in Gilman County now?
400,000.
They can't afford 400,000. If we can help them through this concept and the Georgia Dream, you're just gonna create some really, great stories.
The
that
people
we'll
you
be able to
mentioned would
tell.
be our target.
Sir?
The people that you mentioned would be our target.
Yes, that's your marketing, that's what you want, Tom, that's what we talk about, that policeman, that fireman, and I've heard Tom sit down with leadership from DC, to the state capitol, and it'd be great, particularly if we can, Jim, we pull our cities and county folks together, hash this out, figure it out, right? Sometimes you just gotta figure it out, because every community's gonna be a little different, y'all know that. And we make this your concept, make it a big deal, so.
I'll be happy to get with the mayors and see if
Yeah.
they would have an interest in
That'd be
having a
great.
joint meeting about it.
Good deal.
Very good. Well, we appreciate it. We look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, we do too.
Thank you for taking the time to come up.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
This guy ain't aging at all. I think he was around when I first came into this.
He is getting meaner though.
Yeah, I've known him for, well, let me just say this as Director of Planning and Zoning. I am so glad to hear this presentation today. I think I have said it, before, but we need to think a little bit out of the box instead of traditional, communities that, you know, I call them cookie cutter. We need to think a little bit out of the box with, and I don't like the term workforce housing. I like the term affordable housing. Because old codgers like me, we like affordable housing too, you know? I think that, you know, it could, require some modifications to not only our subdivision regulations, but also our zoning. There may be instances where, we can collaborate with, one or both of the municipalities. People get a little bit confused, because of our infrastructure. Basically, the water and sewer infrastructure, guys, is within the municipal corporate areas. A little bit better with water. But there are other ways, as Commissioner Beatty will remember, to handle sewer with smaller lots. You gotta just think a little bit outside the norm. I love the fact that these communities, what I'm seeing and hearing, are still, we're a rural setting. We want to maintain that rural setting. And these communities are just clustered within that rural setting. Instead of making the mistakes that Atlanta and all of the metropolitan areas have made and continue to make. You know, as an old planner from Tennessee, I just like the country. And I think these kinds of developments, and we have some builders here, these kinds of developments can actually be good for our community, not only for workforce folks that are still working and stuff, but also for retirement.
That's why I asked that question, Jim. So
Yes.
That's right.
I think it certainly bears further discussion and collaboration maybe with the two cities. Now, I know we're thinking right now about, I don't want to call them high rises, but they're apartment complexes. I'd much rather see communities like this than the apartment complex, because that's even more dense. But these are single family homes, not multifamily homes.
Well, in our situation, we needed some more rental as well. Some, you know, we need more rental as well as single family, but I'm all for single family as well.
Well, I prefer single family. I probably should not say this, but I say a whole lot of stuff that I probably should not say. I'm not a fan of what's called low-income housing. I just don't think it works out in the long run. I don't think it achieves the objectives that you're trying to achieve. And that's why, when I first spoke to Commissioner Beatty about this, it seemed like really nice alternative to that sort of thing that, might actually solve the problem without creating additional problems. One of the things that I'm thinking, particularly if y'all have already checked into the city, ordinances, is that, Jim, maybe you should get with these folks outside of what we have. We can't do it outside of a public meeting. But if y'all have a representative that maybe they and Jim could get together to work out what needs to be done, what changes would be required to our ordinances, specifically from a county perspective. I think that would be a good starting point.
I would be delighted to host a meeting, with these folks, and possibly bring, representatives, my counterparts in the, two cities, and possibly even some of my builder friends. Because I think that, if, like I said, I am delighted that someone is thinking a little bit out of the box.
Would that work for y'all?
Absolutely.
I have one more question for you possibly, Jim. The planned unit development, that can be specific to their
Yeah,
requirements.
a PUD, we planners call them PUDs, they're
Right.
planned unit development. And there is no reason, now the city of LJ has, a PUD provision. They have, that in their ordinance. But, I think with a little bit of, ingenuity, you can have some of the same benefits through our zoning, as you have in the PUD developments. So,
Well, that would be the
I'd be
kind of-
delighted to talk to these folks.
That'd be the kind of thing that I'd like for y'all to discuss and try to work out, and then maybe bring back something to us that would be in the nature of, here's what y'all need to execute, so. Okay, thank you, Jim. Thank y'all, we
Thank you,
really
sir.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very informative. We didn't even
We'll be, if y'all got questions here, we're willing to hang out a little while, okay? Y'all doing all right? Okay. Y'all mighty quiet back here. They always this quiet.
No.
Chairman.